Okay, so I am so excited to introduce our guest who is sitting in Zimbabwe very late at night. Thank you, Thembi. So it's what, 10 p.m. for you?
Yes, it's exactly 10 p.m. right now.
Yes, and it's exactly 6 a.m. for me in Brisbane, Australia. And most viewers of this video inside the Thrive membership are in the US and Canada. So amazing world, amazing technology. Now, let me just introduce Thembi for anybody who doesn't know her. I met Thembi a few years ago when I joined a community, a conference and community in the US. You often hear me talk about doing all-nighters. Thembi not only belongs to that community, but when I first went to a conference, she gave this incredible speech and she won Spokesperson of the Year. That was my first venture into Launch Club, Thembi. I was just blown away. So having founded an NGO in Vietnam and worked with people who face incredible challenges, everything Thembi is doing just absolutely, just sang. It's amazing. So Thembi actually takes women who are living in Zimbabwe in very challenging circumstances with very limited opportunity. And I know from my work in Vietnam that opportunity is so rare. And Thembi trains them and teaches them how to become VAs, because Thembi's also an entrepreneur and she knows the struggles that we have when it comes to tech and systems. And so it's like this beautiful marriage, bringing the two together. So most people or all people in the Thrive community and in my community are actually entrepreneurs and they need help. But many people hire VAs and it's just so problematic because we don't know what we don't know. And we're very lucky because Thembi has stayed up way past her bedtime to enlighten us. She's going to share with us how to prepare, which I didn't know. And I must say, I've worked with VAs for a number of years, and it's been so challenging on both ends at times. I really wish I'd have known this 5 years ago, how to actually hire the right VAs, how to prepare for a VA. So I'm really excited. So now Thembi also has a gift for you at the end, which I will give you the link. Her organization is called Virtual Staff on Demand. Is that right?
Yes, Virtual Staff on Demand.
Yes, and we will give you a link and all the rest of it. And Thembi's here to help. So please welcome the wonderful Thembi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alison, for having me and for waking up this early to have me as well. And I'm so excited to share. Let me know if I have to just jump in or, yeah.
Yep. Well, I think the first thing is most entrepreneurs, I believe, and I've been working with business owners for, face-to-face, hands-on for at least 10 years. Most of them don't get help when they need it. They leave it far too long. They get caught up in the trenches of running the business. And oftentimes when I'm coaching and mentoring business owners, I'll say, you need to get help. And I believe one of the best things they can do is hire a VA to do, I'm prolific on social media. I write so that it's in my voice. I don't do any of the image creation. I don't do any of the scheduling. I don't do any of the posting. That all happens while I work on growing my business. And I think a lot of business owners don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's not even just where to start. It's maybe they have started and they've had frustrations along the way where you've hired somebody and it wasn't a good fit. We started implementing this in our organization also because of that, because yes, we're a VA company, but we're not perfect. We're hiring wrong fit and we're matching clients with the wrong fit person. And I started realizing something, Alison, which I started doing testing sort of for our clients to see who they are really, to understand who they are and their working style before I could match them with a VA. Because I think one of the things which we just assume as entrepreneurs is that you're just going to get somebody on Upwork or wherever you get them. They're just going to be magic and your problems are going to be solved. It actually doesn't work that way. And certainly as entrepreneurs, we try to get somebody who's like us, who looks exactly like us, who acts exactly like us, and who talks exactly like us. And I think that's a disaster right there.
Yeah.
So I want to share something. I don't know if I can share my screen. Yes, I can share my screen. I want to share this slide I have, which I want to share with your audience, which I started looking at, and we actually use this when we analyze our VAs and see who they are. So basically, can you see my screen?
I can analyze,
Okay.
create.
Yes. So basically, as human beings, and I want to share this because as human beings, we are born with, actually there's a study which was studied, like 2 million people were studied in this, and we are born with four things, four of these: the analytical mind, the creative mind, the operational mind, and the relationship mind. And as we grow, because of conditioning that happens to us, you know, our parents telling us stuff, we start losing some of these things. And this study which was done, it shows that only 4% of the world have all of these. 96% of us only have a few. You could have 2, you could have 3, but we don't have all of these. And what I have found is, as entrepreneurs, we're innovative, we're strategic, we're future focused, we're thinking of the future. But when we are hiring, we don't analyze and see who are we attracting. Instead, we're trying to find somebody who's just like us, the creation person and the relationship person, and that's where disaster happens. So as you are hiring, as you are thinking of hiring, you want somebody who's in the analytical and the operational part. I made this mistake for so many years, where I was hiring somebody who was exactly like me because they sounded like me, they were me. I needed a mini Thembi.
Yeah.
And mini Thembis went and started their own companies because that's what mini Thembis do.
Yes, of course.
So I wanted to share this kind of just to get started, to say, as you're hiring, for your audience listening right now, this is new. I never used to teach it before. And I started teaching it when I started realizing when we were hiring and started using this, we started getting better results. You want to ask people, like basically even a survey or something, just something that's going to make you find out, are they analytical? Are they operational? Are they complementing your skills? Obviously, if your skills are this side, you want somebody who's going to complement you this side. Or if your skills are cross, or maybe you have all 4 skills, but I'm sure you are weak somewhere. You're not orderly. So you want to ask them and interview them based on these things and based on, okay, like fact-finding questions, just to see if they're a fact finder, if they are orderly. You can even do Colby tests just to see where they are. And it will tell you if they're a fact finder, high fact finder, because most entrepreneurs were not. We just want to do.
Yes, that's so interesting. And of course, I guess it's the same if you're not creative.
Yes.
You know, if you're very organized and systemized and everything, but you're not creative.
Creative, exactly.
And you get a VA, you know, if you get really frustrated trying to come up with those images and things like that, but you get a VA, that's so interesting. So you test both the business owner and the VA.
We started doing that. We never used to do that before. And we're realizing, and you know what happened with us was we would have a VA and they would work with client A, and client A would be so happy and love that VA. And maybe let's say something happens with client A, or maybe client A switches or upgrades and they can't work with that VA. We take the same VA and we give it to client B, and client B just is not happy. Client B is just saying this is a wrong match. This person doesn't know what they're doing. And I started wondering, I'm like, this is weird, because this VA, client A was bragging about her. And now client B is like, this is not working. It's just not working. And so I started saying, so what is the difference? And I didn't come up with this research. This is one of my mentors actually who came up with this research as I was sharing this. and she is part of this research team. They did it a long time ago, and she shared this with me. And so I started using that. We have an assessment tool now we use, where when somebody's coming to work with us, we basically just want to know who they are, and we match them with somebody who's exactly the opposite of them.
See, that is so good, and that's going to impact the success that people will have with a VA. Because, you know, I know many people, I say you need to get some help, get somebody to do the more drudge work, hire a VA. Oh, I've tried a VA, it just didn't work, and I could never get them, and that's obviously part of the problem.
Yeah.
So when it comes to actually preparing to hire a VA, what do you recommend?
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people when we want to hire help, whether it's a VA or project manager, whatever, we have all these ideas in our head, and we just want to take them and we just want to dump them. We don't even know how long it's going to take, especially with a VA, because you want to know how long it's going to take. You just go and just hire somebody and they spend 20 hours doing a task or whatever it is. So what the first thing I recommend is, if it's something that you always do and that you do daily, start tracking it. So I like to use the app Time Doctor, where basically I am tracking everything, whether it's checking my emails, whether it's doing a lead magnet, whether it's creating a graphic. I'm tracking it using Time Doctor. It's free. Time Doctor is, well, maybe it's $10. I don't know, but it's really cheap. Yeah. And so I'm tracking everything. First of all, to see how long it takes me to do that task. And second of all, to see how organized I am with my time. Because how do you hire and get help when you don't know what help you need? You need to know what you need help with first.
So can you use Time Doctor? I don't know that app, so that's great to hear. So if I hire a VA, can I use Time Doctor to map out how long it takes them to do tasks?
Yes, yes. We all are VAs. So what I used to do when I first started, I don't do this anymore, but I still track my time using Time Doctor. I basically used to track how long it took me to do a landing page, like sitting down. And I'll say, okay, 4 hours. Okay, so if I'm hiring my VA, I'm expecting them to take 8 hours because it's their first time, right?
Yes.
So when they take 20 hours, I'm like, what happened? This took me 4 hours. It can take you 5 times more. And so I'm tracking my time and seeing that. And now with our VA internally, we actually track time. And we've noticed that when we started tracking time, the productivity increased. Even though we don't pay our VAs hourly, we pay them monthly. We track every single thing, and so that it gives us a baseline. We know how long it takes for a lead magnet. We know how long it takes for a funnel. We know how long it takes for a graphic to be done. And your VA can actually be tracking their time. And I honestly recommend Time Doctor to every entrepreneur, even whether you're paying hourly or monthly. It's good for you to have that baseline. Also, it's good for you to also have that that discipline to know how long things are taking you.
Yes, that's so good, Thembi. When, like a few years ago, I ran a full team in our office, like pre-Dan and everything. One of the things I would do, particularly as our admin team grew, we used to call it a work plan, I think it was, and they would just track every half hour what they were working on. And from there, I'd make procedures and things like that. But what I did find was really good. Some people would take ages on something, and then I'd chat to them and I'd say, why did that take so long? You know, out of 10, how much did you enjoy doing that? Like 2. I really don't like doing that. So I would give that to somebody that enjoyed it, and that really increased productivity.
Exactly.
Because it also tells you your job satisfaction rate of your staff as well. So Time Doctor, great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, and it takes screenshots. One other thing with Time Doctor, it takes screenshots as you're working. So you can program it as the owner, say it's going to take screenshots every 5 minutes or every 3 minutes or every hour, however long you want it to take. And that gives you a baseline to say, okay, this is where this person is spending more time. they're spending more time when they're writing copy, or they're spending more time when they're designing. So it kind of just gives you that baseline.
Yeah. And so you can even do the same thing, give people the same tasks
Yes.
and monitor how. That's really good.
Yes.
So if I'm preparing to hire a VA and I use Time Doctor to track what I'm doing.
Yeah. So, okay, so you track your time. So you now know your baseline, it's going to take 4 hours for them to do a landing page. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to create an SOP. And of course, this happens if you know what you are doing. If you don't, that's okay. You will have your VA do it for you. But you want to create an SOP. Why do you want to create an SOP? That way, it's easier instructions, because one of the things, we have this idea in our mind and we write it or we put it and we text it. Things which are written are not the same as things which are verbalized. Like the way you write things and the way you say things are different. So if you are doing an SOP, so what I do is you record, you take Loom or Zoom. We're on Zoom right now. You can even use Zoom, and you basically are recording your steps as you go. So this is how I check my email every morning. I wake up, I check this email. If this is like this, I put it in this folder. If this is like this, I put it in that folder. And you are giving your VA step-by-step instruction. It sounds like it takes a long time, but you'll be surprised. It's the same thing you're doing anyways. You might as well just do an SOP. I always say business without an SOP is really not business.
Yes.
Because when you're going to go sell your business, you need standard operating procedures.
Yes.
So why not create your standard operating procedures as you are hiring a new person and tell them this is how I want it done. That way, when that person leaves, you're not worried about retraining another person. You're just giving them that video. This is how you check my emails. Watch the video. Follow step by step. So the next thing after you know how long it takes, use Time Doctor. You use a Loom or Zoom. Just hit record, share screen record, and just start going step by step to show people how you can do it.
Great. Now I do that, and I put that inside of Asana with the step.
Yes, the link, exactly.
Yes, that's where we keep our SOPs.
Yes.
Because it means even if anybody's away, it's so easy for somebody else to step in and do that. They're just following. So that, of course, is going to make it a whole lot easier for your new VA, because they can see exactly what you want.
Yeah, and if your VA doesn't, if you don't know how to do it, because I realize that some listeners here don't know how to do the SOPs, so they don't know how to do, say, the stuff. Ask your VA.
Yes.
Ask you to record themselves as they are doing the task. So that way, because what if something happens to your VA? What if something bad happens to them? God forbid. You want to have something so that you can just follow that step-by-step procedure.
Yes. I also use Otter, you know, OTT.
Yes, TTER.
And so I'll often just turn that on and I'll talk to it. Okay, so now I'm opening this page, and then I'll open PowerPoint. Now I'm getting an image and I'm pulling that in. And then at the end of it, Otter has transcribed the whole lot. There's the audio recording, but there's also the transcript. So you've then got the written step-by-step instructions too. I think, I mean, spending a lot of time in Vietnam, there was an enormous cultural difference. So I had a whole team over there, and there they don't show initiative because that's quite disrespectful. In their culture, they are told what to do.
Yeah.
And so they expect the detailed guidance.
Exactly.
And I found that that really helps with a VA. Or do you think that VAs can take projects and run with them and show initiative? And
you know, it's very cultural. I have been trying to train my VAs to take the project and run with it. And actually and I've noticed that we do have a small subset of those who can do that, but most of them need the guidance. That's why we have like a supervisory situation in a way the supervisors are the ones who are telling the VAs what to do and kind of helping them, guiding them. Most people really, I find, as I said, it's very cultural. They're waiting for instructions. They're waiting for you to tell them what to do next. But you'll have one or two shooting stars who are like, you know what, I'm taking this, I'm jumping with it, and they're telling you what to do as the entrepreneur. But I think it's our responsibility for our businesses to be the one taking the lead and encourage that VA to come up with ideas. Because one of the things which, when you are a VA and you have somebody who's employing you, you are thinking they are, I don't know if this is the right word to use, but you're thinking they are so smart and so brilliant, you can't bring ideas to them. Like there's nothing, they are your boss. And so I think it's important for you as an entrepreneur to encourage your VAs to come up with ideas, to bring them to you, to encourage them to go and research for you and bring stuff to you so that they can grow. And some of it is not even researching, they already know it, but they have this thing that, who am I to tell her what to do? She's paying me every month.
Yeah, disrespectful. Right. And what about, engagement with the staff? If you hire a VA, is it better if you just like communicate via Asana, or do you recommend that they have regular meetings, Zoom meetings,
Yeah, I have found that what has worked for us and the clients who seem to be happy are the ones who usually have regular calls with their VAs. So we recommend that you have a weekly call with your VA in our situation. Slack and Asana are good. We use Slack within our organization. Slack and Asana are good, but there are some things that get really miscommunicated with this whole online thing. Like online is great, but it's not great. Things get missed along the way. So I always encourage you to have a weekly call with your VA, just to say, hey, let's catch up. What has happened and how can we improve this and how can we change this? Because I found that when we didn't have that, we used to not have calls. Things would go for so long without even nobody catching it. The VA is thinking she is aware, and the client is thinking, oh, she is aware, and it ends up being this whole gap of no communication whatsoever. So now we actually are encouraging, and we email our clients to say, try to have those weekly calls with them. That way we can keep that momentum going. Yeah. And of course, the other thing also with the weekly calls, which I have found, we used to have a client who used to do daily calls. And I remember when we did a case study for this client, one of the things he told me was, there's no way his business would be at 6 figures if he didn't have our VAs, one, but if he also didn't have to have the calls, because every morning he would be thinking, okay, what am I going to talk to her today? What am I going to give her today as an assignment? Because we get lazy, we get complacent, we naturally, life gets in the way. And we found that those people, those clients who haven't really done the whole follow up with the VAs and the whole calls, sometimes they don't submit anything. They'll go for weeks or months without submitting, and you're following up like, hey, are you okay? Do you need help? Do you need us to do anything? But when you have the calls with your VA every week or even every other day, you are thinking, okay, what am I going to give her today? I have to give her something. Like, what am I going to give her today?
Yeah.
And that increases productivity. And I remember this client came to us with no business. Within a few months, he was at 6 figures. And he says the only way is because every morning he thought, what am I going to talk to her about? So he had to come up with stuff that needed to be done.
Yeah. And of course, if you're using Time Doctor, then you've got things to talk about.
Exactly.
Because you can see where there's gaps in her time. Gosh, that's so interesting. And Thembi, how much does it cost for a VA? Because I know that's a question people have asked me to ask. How much does it cost?
So it depends. I have to say it depends on where you get them. I'm gonna say, if you are getting a VA, most of them are going to charge you hourly, and it's not cheap if it's hourly. We do packages, we do monthly. So we have like a standard package where basically you're kind of getting about 20 hours a week, plus or minus, depending on how much you're submitting. And that's $497 for us a month. And if you're getting a full-time VA, and this is somebody who's kind of going out of their way, it's not just a full-time VA working, but they're also going out of their way, kind of just researching and doing stuff for you and just seeing how they can add into your business. That's 1197.
Wow.
And I have to say, we call our VAs right now, but technically they're digital marketing techies, because we do lots of funnels, lots of integrations, lots of digital marketing background, social media graphics, and all that stuff. But we are in the process of rebranding. So yeah, so it's for us, it's 1197 for a regular VA, and it's 497 for the standard VA.
Wow. And both of them at 20 hours?
No, the 1197 is a full-time VA.
Full-time VA. Wow, that's
full-time VA. We expect you to give them full-time work. It doesn't happen. Sometimes we have clients who don't even submit stuff, and we're like chasing them to do that, which is okay. It doesn't matter because our VAs get paid monthly. And so, but it's really a full-time VA.
And how do you go working with time zones?
Most of our clients are based in North America and the UK. The UK, no problem, because we're kind of in the same time zone. In Europe, I should say, we're kind of in the same time zone. With North America, the west we have is Hawaii, which is like 12 hours, I think. However, most of them are like 9 hours and below and 6 hours. So what happens is usually a client will submit work, go to bed. Like right now, they're submitting work. We wake up in the morning, we start working on it. By the time the client wakes up, our goal is to give them an update, depending on if it's like a fast task or if it takes longer. We give them an update. So when they wake up, they see an update or something at least. And so for them, it's like, okay, now they can give us feedback if they want or something like that. And we found that to work very well for our clients in North America. They like it because they're like, oh, I go to bed and I wake up and my things are done.
The fairies have been.
Yeah.
It's done while I sleep. And as you mentioned, that your VAs are actually digital techies. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, so as I said, we're in the process of rebranding. When we started, I said VAs, but you know, when you think of a VA does emails, they check emails, they're more like a secretary.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We train them to work on funnels, on digital. So we use Kajabi, Infusions, ClickFunnels, OnTraport, all those applications, Active Campaign. Like right now, for example, we have a VA who went into an Active Campaign and they are basically tagging and creating some automations for a client.
Wow.
Or they could be doing some graphics, social media graphics. That's the other thing. Like the client will give us a blog post and they just create social media graphics and they're posting them on different platforms. Or they could be doing like funnels for a launch. Somebody can say, I'm launching next week. And we create the pages, the email sequence and all that stuff. We do not do copy. We just do the hardware. We don't do the software. We just do the technical stuff. Somebody could come and say, I need some Zap integrations. We do that. So it's mainly the tech stuff involved when you're marketing. Yeah.
So if I was to say to you, for example, I'm getting a little bit excited here. So if I was to say to you, okay, I'm planning a launch. I've got a 15 email sequence. Here it is. And I have Active Campaign and I have Kajabi.
Yes.
So if I give you what I'm going to say, I give you a Word document or a Google document, here's my emails.
Yeah. So we just put in your emails in Active Campaign and we integrate them with, or you use Kajabi, we integrate them with if you want automation, obviously you would let us know. But sometimes the VA would ask and say, hey, do you want us to create an abandoned cart sequence for you? Do you want us to do this automation for you? So we'll put those emails inside of the Active Campaign and program them so that they go at the time you want them to go.
Wow. So if I was to say to you, okay, I have a lead magnet. I've got the page in Kajabi. The lead magnet's doing really well. I've got an email sequence and everything else. I've now created another lead magnet and I want this funnel for it.
Yeah.
You will just say, okay.
The funnel.
Yes. So the Kajabi pages will be done. The email sequence will be done. Everything will be set up in my Active Campaign account. So it just goes out.
Yes, of course, you'll have to test it and check it. Like right now, the client we have, the one I'm telling you about, is an active campaign in ClickFunnels. And this person does basically 6-figure months. They have a 7-figure business, and they had no automation whatsoever. So they came to us and they're like, I have no automation. Can you just go in and just check what's going on? So basically the VA went in, she has implemented abandoned cart sequence. She has implemented automations such that when person attends a webinar, they get a reminder email, or they don't get a reminder email, or whatever. So basically she has sorted all the automations. What this client came to us and said, I feel like there's something missing. I'm doing 7 figures, but it's not really set up. So the VA went in and basically just fixed and cleaned up that place.
Wow.
And that client has increased his revenue.
Yes, wow. So if I was to say, I've done a webinar and I've done a webinar funnel, but I'm now going to run a new webinar funnel campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Here is my email copy, for these sequences, and I just tweak the whole last sequence and I send it to you in a document, and I say, this is the last webinar and here's the copy for this webinar. Will they create like slide decks? And
we don't specialize in slide decks much. We haven't done that a lot. It's funny you're saying this, because we actually just started testing this out with my webinar, which I did last week. And I said I need it redone. And I said, can you please create slide decks for me? So I can't guarantee that's something that would be done perfectly when it comes to slide decks. We're not really experts in PowerPoint. We have never done that, unless if you have an SOP, because some people have come to us with an SOP and say, this is exactly what I want, and we just follow your SOP.
Yes, see, I do. I have SOP for that. It's the same slide in PowerPoint. It just needs a new title and a few new images and the copy.
Oh, then that's easier. We have a client who basically does webinars every week, and they send us their PowerPoint slide, and they say, can you move this image? The slide number 1 has to go to 5, slide number, kind of move it around and all that stuff. And we do that.
Yeah, fantastic. And then you'd automate all of those emails that are automated in the funnel. That was completely done. So I could send you a document with all the email copy and I wouldn't need to go inside Active Campaign at all.
No. That's actually where our specialty is, going into those campaigns, into those automations, and just putting stuff for you. That's what we train.
Yeah. And so, and that could be the same with, like, as you said, the abandoned car.
Yes.
Wow, map it out. That's so.
As long as you've got the email sequence,
Yeah, fantastic. We've got Sharon here too. Do you have a question, Sharon?
Sharon, good to see you.
I'm just writing. I'm getting lots of ideas here because we're going to be scaling up a bit, and the whole thing, creating courses and the actual webinar things, it's the easy part. It's all the other stuff that you just don't want to do. And that sounds like a dream come true, because I need to redo my email sequences. And I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, there's just so many pieces to a new anything. And then even your old anythings, they need to be updated from time to time. So yeah, it's really interesting. So did I understand you to say, I understood the $497 for roughly 20 hours, $1197 a month full time? Is that?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to get clear on that one. I'm thinking out a little bit, Thembi.
Yes. Yeah, I must say the idea of just handing over the copy and not having to go inside Active Campaign at all, and it happens while you sleep.
Well, yeah, that's what I love. And then the automations too. I mean, it's just one more thing you don't have to do. And I know you have to do a final test, but if somebody else could do all that, and then you could say, here, just check it out.
Yes. So like I have the Thrive membership. So I do a masterclass each month, and then some sort of training that I put into the online library. And I'll record that through Zoom. And then what I do is I'll, cut it up and put it into smaller pieces and load it up into Kajabi. Your VAs could do all that for me.
Yes, we could do that. We actually do that for one of our clients.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you do things like YouTube videos?
We do, but we don't. We have one girl who is a specialist, what's the word? Specializes in video editing. And she just gave birth yesterday. She just gave birth to a baby girl yesterday.
Oh,
So right now we do not have anybody, but this girl based, because we didn't have a lot of requests for video editing. So we really only had one girl, and she had trained somewhere to do this whole video thing. So that's really what she does. But the cut, the chop, the chop this and chop that video editing, we can do.
things like introductions, if you've got
Yes.
the same introduction.
Yes, that we do, like podcast editing, we do that. And then you can just chop it in and chop at the end and add your intro and make it flow smoothly. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Great. Any other big tips you have, Thembi?
Yeah, one other thing which I want to share, and I know a lot of us, we trust, and it's good to trust people. It's good to have this trust factor, but I think it's also important to protect yourself while you're trusting your VA. And one of the ways I do that is obviously through LastPass, which is a password sharing app. And I encourage every entrepreneur to always look into LastPass and say, how can I protect myself as I'm working with this person? And how can I really be safe with that? And we mentioned the things like Asana, like just having a professional communication. It's so easy to just send an email, a quick email, and say, hey, do this. But it's so hard to track emails. When you go back and try to track everything, it's so hard. So try to always use something like Asana, which is a project management. That's where you can see where your project is. What happened? She said, you said, she said, you said, and you have that track record. And even Slack is communicating just so that you have something that's professional, which you can use. So things like that, as you are hiring. And honestly, Alison, it's so easy to say, oh, I'm just going to do a quick email. I'm just going to go to Active Campaign and just write an email. But what happens is you're only taking 10 minutes. That 10 minutes ends up being, yes, 10 minutes, but it ends up taking you from the zone, if you know what I mean. Like you just take some time and you're like, oh, it's only 10 minutes, but it's 10 minutes out of your zone of genius. And I think it's important as entrepreneurs to really pay attention to what we do in our zone of genius, to how we utilize our time creating our zone of genius. Because most of the times we end up spending all these hours, all these years thinking we're saving, yet we are just wasting so much money and so much time. Because when you look at it, I'll just give an example. If you were to hire one of our VAs at $11.97, if you divide that by 160 hours, yeah, so that's $7.40 an hour. Is it worth it for you to spend an hour doing a $7.40 work?
Oh,
I think that's one question you should ask yourself.
yes. And the thing is too, I found when I started to just really track my own time, the amount, and I can get caught up in the details. I'm a bit of a data geek and I like things to look right. So I'll just tweak this. I'll just tweak, you know? And so I would spend time putting together social media posts. Oh, that image doesn't match that. The colors are actually wrong. Is that the font that I want? I'm terrible in that way. I can get caught up in the details. I don't even think about that anymore. So if I'm going to be questioning myself, it should be about a new product I'm creating. Not about which post I'm going to post on social media. You're so right. I think it's one of the biggest stumbling blocks. And I think it's one of the things that entrepreneurs do too late. I think
way too late.
Yes. I think
one of the things my mentor said, Jeff Walker, who's also your mentor too, he said one of his business biggest regret was not hiring early enough.
Yes.
And I think we do not hire early enough with the idea that we're going to try and figure this out by ourselves. And the time you waste trying to figure things on your own, could be the time you have made so many products.
Yes. It's so true, you know, and it's one of those, oh, by the time I train them and all the rest of it, I always say to people, you've only got to do that once.
Yes.
You know, and anything worth doing twice deserves a system. So if you have a short system and procedure in place, they'll come in and just take the headache. I mean, I mentioned to you I'd been ill. Well, I took a week off. I was in the hospital, and other than I sent one email at the end of the week because I like the emails to be in my voice, I did nothing. Yes. Anybody who is on any of my platforms would never have known. Had scheduled and organized, and business keeps ticking over. So it really is such an investment, you know, in actually getting and growing your business.
So I have one question before we go. Thembi, do your people know ConvertKit as well?
Yes, we do.
So ConvertKit Kajabi.
Yes.
How many of the platforms do your VAs know, Thembi?
We've been learning as we go. We know most of them. And one thing which I have realized with these platforms is most of them, they're just the same. Honestly, they're just similar. But we know most of them. The one which we have never used is Memberium. We've never used Memberium. Infusionsoft, we used to struggle with it. We ended up having to invest in the training for Infusionsoft so that we could get it. Because we used to get quite a few clients who wanted us to do Infusionsoft. So that's one of those. But the ones which people are familiar with, like ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, Lead Pages, Kajabi, Aweber, Katra, you know, those ones which most people use on Traport, we use them. And we have learned them, some of them, as we go with the clients coming to us.
Great. But I mean, if you're building funnels, then you've got all the main ones. So let me ask you a question. Do you believe, like I've got Kajabi and I have ActiveCampaign. I've also got WordPress, but I use that more just for my blog. I've had a long time. But Kajabi and ActiveCampaign, really, that's where my funnels are. Do you think that business owners should also invest in something like Lead Pages? Or do you think they can do it just as well with Kajabi Pages?
Not if you've got Kajabi. Because Kajabi, I mean, Lead Pages has beautiful pages than Kajabi, I have to say. But what I have found is Kajabi is not that bad. The only thing which I don't like with Kajabi is their email system. So I'm glad you have ActiveCampaign as well with their email system. What I have found with these tools is there is no true all-in-one. No matter how they tell you, oh, this is an all-in-one, you can just do it all, it's something that's going to be lacking. And it ends up being so time-consuming and so not worth it to end up having 5 or 6 different programs trying to get all-in-one. I love Kajabi. Their membership site is beautiful. It's clean. It's just so pretty. You can't compete with their membership site. But when it comes to their pages, they are lacking in terms of their pages compared to Lead Pages, but not to the extent where your conversion rates are like down in the dumps. So really, it ends up coming back to the conversion. We've had clients who've got Kajabi and their pages convert at 60%. Why would you move to Lead Pages?
Yeah, great.
So you might as well just
wondered that. Yes, I actually used Kajabi email for a short time. I went from Aweber to Kajabi and my deliverability went through the floor. It really dropped. So I then went to ActiveCampaign, which picked up a bit. But that's so wonderful to know. So I think we're done. That was fantastic. So much great information. Now, I'll also put the links to your site under the video once it's posted up. The website link, which we will add.
Or the website, yes. Or the website. It's limon.com/Alison.
Okay. Oh, great. So it's affiliate too. So there's a bonus. I'm always saying to members, you know, build affiliate relationships.
Yes.
With things that you believe in wholeheartedly. Well, I'm excited to learn more about this, Thembi. Thank you so much for your time. And
thank you.
What, 11 o'clock at night there now?
Yeah, it's almost 11. Yeah.
Yes.
11. My brain has officially shut down 4 hours ago.
Yeah. Well, for somebody with a closed brain for the last 3 hours, you've been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thembi.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, Sharon.
Bye-bye.
Good night.